Approval of the minutes of January 4th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed. Next, we have the approval of the salary board actions.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary board actions provided.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed. Is there any other business to come before the salary board?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, so moved. We are adjourned. All right. Before we head into the commissioners meeting, could we please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order at 9:33 and begin with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Nieder,
Here,
Commissioner Fashi,
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
We'll open it up to public comments on non-agenda items at this time. Is there anyone on? Is there anyone in the room that would like to make a public comment? There's none. We'll move on. And then we have a special recognition that will probably be the best part of my day. And Bob Shively, I'd like to call you up to explain a little bit about it.
Okay. Morning, everyone. In 1993, the 911 Center in the region started with emergency medical dispatch protocols, which is the protocols the telecommunicators use to process all of our medical calls, the questions we ask, and then that also lets us provide pre-arrival instructions for CPR and childbirth and choking. With that, we've been lucky enough to assist with 33 now childbirths in the 31 years that we've had the system. And that's 27 different telecommunicators. So with that, if I could call Taryn Brammer and Shannon Sprague forward. There are our two newest inductees to the Stork Club. So, congratulations. Right, you're over there.
Let's move out of the way. Tara?
Yes.
A little pin for you and the certificate as well. Nope, not at all. Is that down low enough? Shannon, there's your little pin, and I love that it's blue.
Yeah.
Because it was a boy.
Those were baby boys.
So, pop in. All right. Yeah.
Want to take a couple? Okay, does anybody else, do we want any other people up there?
Family pictures? Sure.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. Learning.
Let's find out what they named them.
All right. Bye. That takes us to the consent agenda. Okay, and I'll turn that over to you, Stacy.
Thank you. So the consent agenda contains a list of routine items. They do not appear to be controversial and do not appear to require any discussion. The consent agenda today contains agenda items number 5 through 14. And now would be the time if anyone would like discussion on any of those items to make that request. Hearing none and seeing none, commissioners, I would ask for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So that takes us then to the regular agenda, which is a list of non-routine items that will be discussed, and commissioners, you may act upon them individually. And I'll start by calling on Stephanie Williams to discuss the 2024 Farmland Preservation Certification of Funds. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning. So it's that time of year where the Board of Commissioners must certify funds for the Farmland Preservation Program. This certification is to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. Funds certified to PDA are used exclusively for easement purchases. A total of $878,463 is proposed to be certified for funding for 2024. This recommendation is based on Resolution 2019-30, which established a goal of preserving 30,000 acres by 2030. That $878,000 does include $850,000 in general funds, $1,725 in private donations, and over $26,000 in interest collected from the clean and green penalties, which are statutorily required to go back to our program. This allocation is estimated to leverage approximately $2.2 million in state funding, then resulting in a total program of about $3 million for the farmland preservation for 2024. And we would anticipate being in a position to preserve approximately 850 acres of working farmland with those funds. The certification form is due to PDA by January 31st, and then by March 1, the State Agricultural Land Preservation Board will announce funds that will be returned to Cumberland County for preservation of farmland.
Any questions for Stephanie?
I have a question. Steph, so the general fund commitment on this is 878,000. Did I hear that correctly?
850,000.
Okay, so I have to ask the inevitable question, which is, we had a discussion here yesterday about things that we could defer for a year because of the budget situation. We have at least 5.7 million gap. This is, as I have mentioned before, the single largest discretionary item in our budget. So it seems to me it should at least be stated publicly that the commissioners need to take a decision on this very seriously. The signal it sends is important too. So the question I have for you, Steph, is a technical one, and that is, if we were to defer a year, what would the impact be? And does that impact the amount leverage, the matches in particular?
So in terms of the funding that we would receive from the state, pulling out the $850,000 would certainly impact our return on investment. PDA has a fairly complicated funding formula. Part of it is a grant and part of it is a match. So the matching component would certainly be significantly reduced. The $2.2 million that I've estimated here is based on a spreadsheet they provide to staff. So I can't give you an exact number right now what a reduction would do to our state allocation.
I guess my question is, would the state match still exist if we came back to the drop a year from now?
Oh, yes. I mean, I don't anticipate there's going to be any changes in the program, so I would anticipate next year the state match would still be there.
Are any of the targeted acres involved? I don't know if those decisions are made yet, but are there any there that are under a time urgent basis, like a imminent sale, or farmers retiring, or?
Right. So we have not completed ranking yet. We do have a slate of applications for 2024. Our applicant list is actually up quite a bit. Well, I shouldn't say quite a bit, from about 26 to about 35. That's a difficult to answer because often many of our applicants are of an older generation and they're thinking about their legacy on the land. I'm not aware of any potential sales, but one never knows if they don't achieve farmland preservation, what their plans may be.
Okay, I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just saying, just the conversation yesterday was, we need to have options on the table. It strikes me as an option.
So Gary, I was looking at this similarly in that, we are using $14 million worth of one-time money. And in my mind, that 850,000 is a component of that we are funding from the ARPA money into this program for this year. My frustration for Stephanie in this situation is that when the board was alerted in April or May timeframe that the budget was going to be difficult with finance projecting serious difficulties, that wasn't given more consideration at that time, so that a plan could have been implemented within this year's budget. So now I feel like it is unfortunately late in the game to be looking at this. However, our conversation with Kirk about the 30,000 acres by 2030, I was surprised to realize there's not any real science behind that, and it seemed an arbitrary number and an arbitrary time frame, quite frankly. Now it may prove to be that we're not doing enough quickly enough, or that we're doing adequately on a timeline, or we're overextending. So we don't know. And that just came up in one of our very first meetings, and it needs to be studied. I did talk briefly with Stephanie about that at the planning board this morning. I feel like it's late to pull the rug out from underneath them on this funding. And if we know and believe that this funding is absolutely coming from the ARPA money, I'm inclined to approve it for this year with study into next year as to what is an appropriate pace to do this. And I only attended one ag board meeting, so I'm certainly not an expert in that, but it was a little surprising to me that they are now taking down farms. The process is long, that were from 2022. So my concern is if we end it here, we're really stepping back a couple of years, and I'm not sure what that will do with her cash flow into making some of those transactions happen. So I think we need to be more methodical and plan ahead. And that's my perspective on it at this juncture.
So this is ARPA money. We're using ARPA money for this part.
It's all going through the general fund, Gary.
Okay. All right. So we can call it ARPA money if you want.
Yes.
Okay.
So it sounds like we need a new education piece on this, Stephanie. And if I was not here in 2019 when the resolution was done, but if I remember correctly, one of the reasons to do farmland preservation is the preservation of prime soils in Cumberland County, of which we are one of the few areas on earth that has prime soils like this. And if I'm remembering correctly, also, this match from the state is 2-to-1. So this is a significant match and a significant program. And the state celebrates these things, and the people of Cumberland County are very interested in farmland preservation, if I'm remembering from all of the surveys that we put out. So it sounds like the board needs a re-education on this and to be thoughtful about it. So I certainly am in favor of a re-education.
I think the other thing that this board needs to keep in mind is, and we spoke briefly about it at one of our meetings, that potential with some of the legislation that is going through that would allow a referendum on potential tax for open space. And that would be subject to the will of the voters in Cumberland County if that's something that progresses. So this money currently does come out of the general fund. Our general fund is under budget by what we learned yesterday, a grand total of $14 million that we are bringing in from ARPA money. And in my mind, this is a component of that. And I think we need to continue to watch the legislation to see if a referendum, to Jean's point, I believe it's very important to the residents of Cumberland County. I think agriculture is important as an occupation, and to do what we can to help preserve that in Cumberland County is important. We just do need to look at the pace and the funding streams in order to do so.
Steph, one of the things, if we're going to do that kind of reset, that I would ask again, I've asked it before, is I just saw the newest numbers on per acre. And we're substantially higher on a per acre basis than all of our neighboring counties. And I'd like to understand that better, why that seems to be necessary. So we'll address that in due course. Thanks.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Stephanie? We will need a motion on this then. Is someone willing to make a motion?
So I'll move to approve the 2024 Farmland Preservation Certification of Funds as discussed.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Approved. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. That takes us then to agenda item 16, and we have Rich Farr joining us to discuss the letter of support for the RAISE grant application. Okay, so Rich Farr is not online. So commissioners, as you know, Rapid Transit has sought out numerous grants to aid in providing robust services. A letter of support has been provided, and Rich has requested approval to use that letter of support in their submission of the RAISE grant application for the United States Department of Transportation. Do you have any questions about that?
No, I believe it's in our packet. Thank you.
Yeah, and if not, I would request approval of sending the letters.
Approval of the letter as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. And so that takes us to contracts and grants, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Angela Smyser.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everybody. Moving on to agenda item 17, I will call on Anita Brewster to discuss the contract for CASA in the courts.
Hello, we are very happy to find another intern, hopefully having not had one for the holidays. We're very happy that HAC has offered an associate's level intern who could work for us about 10 hours a week. And it's just, she's learning things from our office that includes the courts and human resource things. And we get an intern. So we are hopeful that that can be approved.
Thank you. Any questions for Anita?
None for me. It's a great program, Anita. Thank you for coming. Can I get a motion to approve the CASA?
I will move to approve the Harrisburg Community College Human Service Practicum contract for CASA courts.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Very much
you.
appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Moving on to agenda item 18, I will call on Jamie Reiber to discuss the contract addendum for children and youth. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, everyone. This is an addendum to our City Mission Livingstone's contract for this year. They opened up an additional transitional living home that serves youth 16 to 21. It's called Promise Place. It is well below their state maximum allowable, so we have room to grow in that. And the rate is comparable at $259 a day to our other like programs that we contract with. Any questions?
None for me. Entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the City Mission Livingstone's Inc. contract addendum for children and youth services.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie. Moving on to agenda item 19, I will call on Dennis Lebo to discuss the contract for clerk of courts.
Yeah, the addendum is for an additional production document scanning license for our imaging system. Those are now sold by subscription. You can't buy them outright. And it's a 3-year subscription, starting at $960 the first year with 7.5% escalator in years 2 and 3, to a total of $3,101.40. And probably the most significant things to issue to you is that it'll be paid for out of the clerk of court automation fund and not out of general fund monies. Clerk of court automation fund, especially with the person. I don't know if I guess you've been explaining in the future, but there's a $5 docket per docket assessment that's statutory from the state for clerk of court automation. That's the funds that are being out of.
Any questions?
We like to hear that, Denny. Thank you. Motion, or I'd entertain a motion for Denny.
I'll move to approve the Paper Solutions contract addendum for clerk of courts as discussed.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. One note, on the agenda, it says Paper Solutions, but it's actually paperless, I believe. Do we need to correct that?
Oh, the name is incorrect. I
Yeah.
think it's fine if you know that the correct company's name is Paperless.
Paperless. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I almost didn't see you back there, Denny. I was looking around. All right, moving on to agenda item 20, I will call on Travis Shank to discuss the contract for the prison.
Good morning, Commissioners. The prison is seeking approval for a contract with Mechanicsburg Comprehensive Treatment Center, and approving this contract, it will allow the center to transport medicine needed to continue the care to individuals in treatment for opioid use disorder. The prison will provide a secure place to store this medicine, and Prime Care will administer the medications to these individuals. There is no cost to the county for this contract.
Thank you.
Any questions?
None from me.
I'll move for approval of the contract as stated by the.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 21, I will call on Tammy Shearer to discuss the contract for the Recorder of Deeds office.
The contract that is in front of you to Reynolds Business System. We have had them the last 2 years. They actually did 2 separate things for us. They rescanned some of my old miscellaneous books. That contract is done. So this is a new contract just for part 2 of what they do for us. Instead of using microfilm, which we have done in the past, they are converting our files, our Landex digital files, to PDFAs, which is the state-approved archival format process. And not only do they make the conversion, they also store a backup version on site, which is required. So that's why we're doing that. I believe this portion of the contract for this year, we've increased it because I do have some additional record improvement money, which is where this would be funded. And we're hoping to start back scanning or back converting files all the way back to 1750 at some point through this process. So as money's allowed, we'll be doing that. So again, this will be paid for by my record improvement account. The funds are already in the account, so we're ready to roll.
Any questions, Tammy?
Tammy, I'm sorry if you said, what years are you working on for this?
Right now, we're starting, we monthly convert what we do this month, but we're going to be working our way backwards to 1750.
Okay, so it's
It'll take a while.
2023, but you're going back, you're beginning.
23 is done because we do it as we do. So
Okay,
we're going to.
You've got 23, so it's 22.
I think we started to do some 22, so we'll be doing 21, 20. Heading back as far as we can go till money runs out.
Okay.
And as time permits.
Yeah, thank you.
Any additional questions?
And this will also at some point alleviate the need for our microfilm that is currently being stored at Iron Mountain, which I'm hoping to move to the state. So, you know, we pay a fee every month, about $400 to store microfilm. So this is, you know, the future, what we're doing. Will be a cost savings eventually for the county too.
Sounds good. And it's at no cost now, so we like that.
Right.
Okay. Entertain a motion for Tammy's contract.
I will move to approve the Reynolds Business Systems contract for the Recorder of Deeds as discussed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tammy. Moving on to agenda item 22, I will call on Ron Kerr to discuss the contract for the sheriff's office and court collections. Good morning. Good morning.
Looking to get approval for TransUnion. It is a company that we share with the court collections unit, or it's a web-based service for looking for warrant wanted subjects. We've had it for probably about 5 or 6 years, just a new contract for this year. It actually has gone down because of the way we used to do a 13-month, now they want to do a 12-month, so it's $1,140 less than last year's. We have, the sheriff's office has 4 seats and the collections unit has 8 seats, and we share that cost together.
Any questions for Ron?
You're happy with the service?
We are.
I'll move for approval of the contract.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 23, I will call on Brent Durham to discuss a capital project request for facilities management. Good morning, Brent.
Yes, good morning, everyone. This capital request here for your consideration is to install a generator at 1601 Rittner Highway. I'm proposing that we install a generator capable of handling the full electrical load at that building. This facility over the last 4 years or so, with the changes of election operations, with the addition of CID and forensics and all that up there, has really become a critical facility for the county. Elections, they have many reasons why they would need continuous power, from security to the machines charging to phone and network. CID and forensics, they store evidence up there that it's cooled, frozen. They have a significant amount of sensitive equipment up there, and security as well. Where this concept really has merit, though, is with the tower that's being constructed in the back of that property. We're running 2 fiber lines from that to the server room within the building, and we're working towards creating a backup 911 room for the phone communications for 911. Once that whole project is done, that's where this having backup generation really makes sense at this property. I'm estimating the cost at $350,000. I've talked with Bethany. We can use the election integrity grant towards half of this project. I'm working with Bob and Eric to see if they have any additional funding to offset the rest of the cost. I'm bringing this to you now because there's a 36-week lead time to get generators right now. And so until I go through the process of writing the bid specs, go through that whole, the going out for bid and the awarding of a contract and all, the reality of it is this project will probably not finish until early next year. So that's why I'm bringing it forward now.
Thank you. Any questions for Brent?
Are there any floodplain concerns with that property being a backup?
Not that I'm aware of, Eric.
Okay, I'm sure somebody's asked this. So.
Brent, do you happen to know if this project was listed as one of the ARPA projects?
It was not.
It was not. So this is outside of that pool.
Correct.
I do believe the backup 911 facility was listed as an ARPA project. It might have been pushed a little bit further out in the review process.
It didn't have any dollar amounts with it, so it was on the list of feasible projects, but we knew so little about what that facility would look like or where it was going to be, so there wouldn't be any impact listed of feasible project. Again, we just didn't have enough information on it.
This will be a generator at the place where we deliver free, fair, accurate, and reliable elections.
Correct.
Yeah, it seems pretty important.
Correct.
And as 911 backup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll entertain a motion if there are no more questions.
I will move to approve the capital project request for facilities management for a generator at 1601 Rittner Highway with a total project cost of $350,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 24, as well as some of the following agenda items, I will call on Kirk Stoner, and we'll just go one item here at a time. Starting with the contract for liquid fuels and finance. Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning, Commissioners. The first item up for discussion is our retainer agreement with HRG. HRG is our county bridge engineer, and under that responsibility, they inspect all of our county-owned bridges and our municipally owned bridges that are over 20 feet in length. That agreement is funded using liquid fuels, and it is a two-way agreement between us and PennDOT. In addition to that agreement, we have a retainer agreement then with HRG that governs some other activities they may provide to us. The agreement outlines what those activities are. They're provided to us on a on-call and time and materials basis. The contract that's before you today is for a not to exceed amount of $140,000 over the next 5 years, which is concurrent with their term as the county bridge engineer. The various section 1 of the agreement outlines the various services they would provide to us. Again, the services are provided to us on an on-call basis as we request them, and they give us time and material cost for each of those services.
Any questions for Kirk on that contract?
I'm for approval of the contract.
I'll second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. One down.
All right,
Okay.
and now, go ahead,
Nope.
you got it.
Number 2 is the PEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program grant. So we had applied to PEMA to receive funding to update the county's hazard mitigation plan, which is a plan to reduce our vulnerability to natural man-made hazards. We complete that plan in conjunction with the Department of Public Safety. The grant that we're looking at today is acceptance of a grant for $83,955. That'll enable us to work with the consultant and with our staffs of both organizations to complete the plan.
Any questions for Kirk on the grant acceptance?
None for me. I will move to approve the PEMA Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program grant acceptance of $83,955.92 for planning and public safety.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, the capital projects for planning are next, Kirk.
Okay, so final item here is our capital projects. We have Foxley Bridge and Graham's Bridge, 2 county-owned bridges that we need to do deck replacements on. These aren't critical bridges like we'd seen with our previous capital improvement program where they were in poor condition in danger of being weight posted. They're not to that point yet, but we are looking ahead on these projects. Both of them would be deck replacement projects. You can see the values of them listed on the agenda. Those costs are projected and included in our bridge capital improvement program.
Any questions for Kirk on the capital project?
And Kirk, just to clarify, the one is with York and we would be receiving some money. They will be paying their share.
Yeah, so Foxley Bridge is between Cumberland and York County. So we have a cost sharing agreement with them on that project.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Would ask for action from the board.
Anyone willing to make a motion on that?
I'll move for approval of the projects, the capital projects as outlined.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 One more item for you, Kirk, and that is the resolution regarding FPRs.
Actually, this would be an easy one. I think we'd like to request this item to be tabled. Took a quick look at the resolution, shared it with our Farmland Preservation Board and our Conservation District. I think it would be our recommendation to have those boards look at the resolution in a little more detail and maybe provide some updates to the language back to the board.
Make a motion to table.
I will move to table agenda item 20, the discussion and approval of resolution 2024-2.
I'll second, but Kirk, could you tell me which organizations did you share it with now?
Sure, I would recommend we share it with the Conservation District and then the Ag Preservation Board.
Okay, is there any discussion with the County Farm Bureau?
No, this resolution, Gary, would be a Cumberland County resolution. So we haven't had them review the language on this. If it's the board's discretion, you'd like them to share this with them, it's something that we could do through the process. I think what was intended was for the county to look at this and approve it based upon our views on FPRs and our wish for action with our legislators.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
I believe that the solicitor's office was incredibly efficient in getting this, drafted, and we would like some additional review. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor to table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. And with that, I will hand the meeting back over to Stacy.
Thanks, Angela. So that takes us then to agenda item 28, which is Commissioners' liaison reports and Commissioner Meter.
Yes, and I had my first ag board meeting, which was a great introduction. And they are starting to allocate monies for purchases of farms. There continues to be an interest in the ag preservation program, as Stephanie discussed, and will continue. I believe she was excited that the properties that they have had, and they've had to go through the full process, and then properties that are reaching out for information. So that program continues to be a strong one. And I just came from my first planning board meeting that happened this morning. So I am getting familiarized with that. Kirk is working on the planning document with consultants that we will be getting a preview of. Hopefully, they're very encouraged by the response that they've received from the community. And the discussion was also over the House bill that speaks to and I forget the House bill number, that speaks to potentially leveraging a tax to preserve open space. It would be a large component of the Planning Commission. So they're going to look for more information on that as well. Those are the two committees that I have had at this juncture.
Thank you, Commissioner Fauci.
Well, good morning, Cumberland County. I will have my first Conservation District Board meeting on January 23rd at 9 a.m. That will be at the Penn Township Fire Hall in case anyone wants to attend. The Local Emergency Planning Committee met on January 4th, and one of the big things that we discussed was the tax credit that the county offers to our volunteer first responders. There was a conversation about the hazmat team, and members of our hazmat team are not eligible for that tax credit. And is that something that we could work on? And so in discussion, we discussed that, and I will report this back to the LEPC directly, but that is not a part of the law. You can offer that tax credit to volunteer firefighters, volunteer EMS, but if you don't somehow classify as one of those groups, that is not part of that law. So I would appreciate if the board would be interested in lobbying to have that law changed. I know that Nate Silcox actually brought that original piece of legislation to Commissioner DeFilippo at the time. And that's how we moved that project forward in the county. And maybe we can go back to Nate Silcox and see if there's could be some effort at the state to amend that law. So that's that's the LAPC. The Western COG, of course, met on January 8th. And as we've discussed, food processing residuals are high priority with the Western COG. They are doing their own resolution. They are working with DEP, and yesterday I connected them with the governor's office so that they could have conversations with the governor's office and get the resolution over to that office for review and comments. The library board also met on January 8th. And I want to remind everyone that Cumberland County libraries are warming centers. So boy, if you're cold, that's a good place to go. You have to make sure that the library is open. It's not just open, all night long to go in and hang out. But that's an excellent place to go for a warming center. One of the interesting things that's going on at the library is, we've got the Pennsylvania Broadband Digital Equity Initiative. And our libraries are very interested in maintaining strong community anchors and being places where you can go and use high-speed broadband. It's very important. I think that's such an excellent thing for our libraries to do. And there's a $45 million competitive grant out there for community anchor institutions, which are our libraries, to construct, acquire, or improve facilities that are or will be open to the public to directly enable work, education, and health monitoring. Something that our library assistant is also looking at. Tiffany Weidel, the assistant director at the Boston Library, was the employee of the month for December of 2023. And Cumberland County Library System departmental leader Tara Major just graduated from County Leadership Essentials, which is fantastic. Carolyn was very pleased with her final presentation. And last night, Commissioner Nieder and I both attended the Mechanicsburg Chamber event. It was their annual meeting and presentation, and that was excellent. It's good to be out there in the community, talking with people and learning. And that is what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just briefly, we had recycling authority meeting the other evening. And the major topic discussion, of course, was the idea of the recycling facility that's under consideration. And it was essentially the due diligence meeting. The contractor, an engineer, was there for the study. And we spent about, what, hour, 15 minutes, maybe hour and a half, discussing that. I was in listen mode, and I think, I was really impressed with the questions that came out of the board. They knew what they were doing. They didn't have to be led by staff, although that could have been, that would have been fine as well. So engineer had good answers, members had good questions. So I feel like they have a much better consensus on what the options going forward would be. And of course, that'll come back to the commissioners once there's something a little more defined on that. So now the engineer goes back to, does their piece of it, as I understand. So we'll be hearing more on that in the coming weeks. So the only other thing from that meeting was that their judge reported out that one of the recycling grinders was the first, they had a fire. I think in Silver Spring Township when it was in use. The repair guy came out and took a look at it, almost immediately, and Joe was going to talk to the insurance investigator. I guess it was yesterday. I haven't heard anything on that, but that's the first such episode they've had with that equipment. The equipment's not cheap, but I think he said it's one of the older pieces they had as well. So, we'll be hearing a little bit about that, but they seem to have that under control. The other item that I have is MHID. The meeting is today for the advisory group, and that will be the reorg, and they'll be welcoming some new members as well. So I guess the emphasis will be on that. I did not get to check with Annie, but I did receive from Trudy Kessler the reports that Annie and Sue will be working from. There's really nothing that's outstandingly new other than providing an overview, an update today to the new members, especially regarding the walk-in facility that we all attended the opening for in December across the river, the regional facility. We'll get an update on the latest LTSR development term housing. We got new numbers on suicide prevention. As you know, this continues to be an epidemic situation across the state, actually across the nation. In Cumberland County, our folks are heavily involved in the QPR question, persuade, and refer training program to try to empower people to assist those who may be in a state of crisis and contemplating something they shouldn't be contemplating. So the idea is to assist in that effort. They have now trained for 2020, in all of 2023, they trained 248. That was up from 212 the year before and up from 22 the year prior to that, and 112 in 2020. So we're getting some significant outreach out there to help people help other people. In January, there are 2 trainings still scheduled. And of course, you heard us probably speak last year about the My Ascension film that was part of this effort as well. That continues to be in use. And they recently had a community event in Western Perry School District to view the film and for faculty and staff, and to assist the community in knowing more about suicide prevention. So making good progress with that program. The us over to IDD. Sort of the same thing going on as ever. Caseloads are up significantly, and the main driver right now is that the intellectual development area is now open for, how do I put it, the servicing of autism cases. And that has resulted in an enormous uptick in cases being reported. And as I stated here before, autism intervention is a mandated service. So when our folks get notified, then there has to be an assessment that has to be conducted rapidly. So that demand is overwhelming a lot of the resources, has been for some time. And those numbers have not abated. The one thing that's been discussed here is apparently Amy Reed, which is our early intervention coordinator, is going to be working with a number of the service providers. They're going to do a series of focus groups about the rates to see if they can determine some additional approaches that they might be able to manage those rates with. And they do have a second coordinator as well now, compared to last year. I'll be waiting today to talk to Linda McCullough about the evolving financial situation. As you're all aware, that's become a significant driver for our budgetary distress, the increasing need for the county to fill the gap left by the Commonwealth. So we'll get an update on that today and be sure to share that. That's everything I have for today.
Thanks, Commissioner Eichelberg. That was an excellent update on those autism services and the mandate coming from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us then to agenda item 29. I would like to report that an executive session was held on January 11th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And I will now ask if there is any other business to come before the board today.
Stacy. Good morning, Commissioners. I'd just like to extend a warm Cumberland County team welcome to our 2 high school students. They'll be joining us the next 9 weeks in 7 different departments. Cameron Lay and Jessica Lewis join us from Big Spring High School. They are seniors there. And we're very excited for them to learn about county operations. This is their first ever public county meeting. So we thought we'd bring them out on their first day. So I'm hoping at some point you can spend maybe some time with them over the next 9 weeks and learn a little bit more about them. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Derek. We're sorry we missed you.
Yeah, there's been some closures and delays.
Yeah, some delays.
Thank you, Derek,
Thank you,
and
Stacey.
welcome both of you. Any other business to come before the board today? All right, hearing none, seeing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.